Another nice day here in Chicago as we wrap up the Crosstown Cup here for 2015. The Cubs have won 3 in a row against the White Sox in this season series, and today overall looking for their 10th consecutive win. It's the Cubs and the White Sox. Cubs baseball on Comcast Sportsnet. Great to have you with us, Jim DeShays and Len Casper. The Cubs in their best stretch in quite a while. They've won 9 in a row and 15 of 16. And last night, JD, they took advantage of some miscues by the Sox.
Yeah, it was actually a sloppy game on both teams' parts, but the Cubs took full advantage of some sloppy play by the White Sox. 2 nights ago, a lot of home runs. Yesterday, just good, timely hitting, bunching some hits together. The 7th inning in particular, where they took advantage. David Ross with a big hit. Addison Russell had a very nice day. Here's Dexter Fowler beating out an infield hit. And then a double play that did not get turned proved to be a big part of it as well. Throw gets away from Abreu. Anthony Rizzo chips in. He had a 2 RBI game. Jorge Soler had a nice day.
Yeah, the bloop single there, it just looks like in 2 strike counts here as of late, contact paramount, the Cubs coming through.
Yeah, much better approach, and overall the numbers really good. During this 9-game winning streak, Cubs have won 15 of their last 16, but during this streak, 271, 355 on base, 479 slugging. If you average about 6 runs per game, you're going to win a whole lot of baseball games.
Yeah, getting very good starting pitching as well. Will be a little tougher today against a 4-time All-Star. Chris Sale, really good right near the break at Wrigley Field. He has struggled, however, here in the second half.
Yeah, that 10 strikeout game, that was the 11th double-digit strikeout game of the year for him. But since then, he has pitched to a .639 earned run average over his last 5 starts. Last time out, he was good. The 2 previous starts, he allowed 7 runs in each of those 2 ball games.
It'll be Dan Haren, the veteran right-hander, making his 3rd start as a Cub. He won his last time out. And when we come back, Patrick Mooney will sit down with Cubs pitching coach Chris Bosio. Stay tuned.
Indiana Lexus dealer who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. Through it all. AT&T Uverse. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 1-800-PIC-ATT. Mobilizing your world. Ford. Check out America's freshest lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com.
Patrick Mooney is our Cubs insider, and he's brought to you by nationwide agent Jeff Vukovich. Visit Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. Patrick sat down with Chris Bosio and got a scouting report on Dan Haren.
He is a pitch maker. Tremendous command of all of his pitches. He doesn't throw 96 like he did at once, but the guy still knows how to pitch. He's got knowledge. You know, especially with the interleague the way it is. Now he's got knowledge of all the teams, which is always great to have. And the biggest thing, I think, was the relationship that he had with him and Montero previous, which had a lot to do with Danny coming over here.
Kind of a similar question. We saw Jake Arrieta last night, and at this point, it's almost routine the way he's kind of racking up wins and quality starts and becoming that frontline pitcher I think the Baltimore Orioles hope for. Looking back on the last couple of years, what's been the difference for him here in Chicago?
Well, I really think Jake wants it. We've got a little catchphrase going in the clubhouse, whether it's a 1 o'clock game or a 7 o'clock game, it doesn't really matter. All we got to do is get ready to play. Kind of how we're going about, with the starting pitchers and the relievers and players in general, is just preparing for the game, not worried about, what you did in your last outing or really even in your last inning. Competing pitch to pitch, simplifying things, and really, taking time to, pay attention to the moment and prepare yourself for the pitch, and then defensively. Case in point last night, nobody was more frustrated when Jake made the error on the comebacker, but he had 6 outs last night on comebackers, and one of the things that we talked about was being able to field your position against this club, which utilizes the middle part of the field. Things like that, Jake has improved on a lot, and our pitching staff has improved on a lot.
How much more satisfying is this after kind of working through all those, last place seasons where you build guys up and then they get flipped at the trade deadline? How much does it mean now to see this plan kind of being on the other side of it?
Well, the one thing is that we had to buy into the plan, and we were all on board with it. We knew there was going to be some tough stretches, but I think those are the things that have made us stronger as a club. We were a lot of close games the last couple of years, and even this year, early in the year. But I think that's really helped us when the moment gets tough.
Good stuff from Chris Bosio with our Patrick Mooney. First pitch is right around the corner from U.S. Cellular Field. Stay tuned. Cup this year. They are 3-2 against the White Sox, trying to sweep them in a 3-game series for the first time since 2007. Cubs Southwest starting lineup: Fowler, DeNorfia, who started every game in this series. Bryant will be the DH today, first time in his major league career. Rizzo, Soler, and Russell in the middle. Castro, Montero, and Jonathan Herrera gets a rare start, batting ninth.
Defense for the White Sox this afternoon: Cabrera, Eaton, Garcia, left, center, right. Third to first: Saladino, Ramirez, Sanchez, Adam LaRoche. Tyler Flowers is the catcher, and the Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher for the White Sox is the lanky lefty Chris Sale, on for the 23rd time. 10 up, 7 down, 3.47 ERA. Big swing and miss guy. Tons of strikeouts, best strikeout per 9 rate in the American League. And as we mentioned in our open, he scuffled here, like good last time, but the last 4 or 5 starts, not so good.
And here we go. And strike one on the Cubs leadoff man, Dexter Fowler. If he gets a hit in this plate appearance, Vinny's Beverage Depot will donate $100 to Make-A-Wish, Illinois. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That first pitch looked like a fastball. It registered 89 on the gun, which was very peculiar. Sale, one of the hardest throwers in the league. Top out at 99, sits comfortably at 95 miles per hour with that heater.
Swing and a miss, 97, and so his velocity matching the temperature, 94 degrees as we get started.
Is it possible he started the game with a changeup? Maybe. Just threw a little dead fish, but he's got it. There's the elevated heater at 97. Sale, one of those rare guys, in that he has 3 elite pitches. He's got obviously tremendous velocity, a great slider, and really good changeup as well.
Fastball up and away on Chris Denorfia. He has started every game in this series, 0 for 8 with 3 strikeouts. Yeah, the over-under on punch-outs for Sale probably double digits.
Yeah, he hasn't had one in 5 starts, a double-digit strikeout game, so he's more than due. The Cubs strike out a lot.
Working quickly. Sale is from Lakeland, Florida. He's rail thin, as you mentioned, 6'6", 180. Swing and a miss. 2 batters, 2 punch outs for the 4-time All-Star who pitched at Florida Gulf Coast University along with former Cub Casey Coleman. That'll be Chris Bryant.
The thing about Sale, he's a huge strikeout guy, but he has good control. He doesn't walk many.
That usually means elite.
Yeah, well, his gap between his strikeout rate and walk rate is second only to Clayton Kershaw in Major League Baseball.
Bryant hits it foul, 1-1. Umpires DJ Rayburn is back at the plate today. He'll have to stay hydrated on this really hot sunny day. Fagan, Danley, crew chief Joe West handle the bases. Bryant with his 3rd 12-game hitting streak this year, the first Cub to do that in a season. Have that many 12-game hitting streaks since Ron Santo in 1966. 3-1.
Turn it loose here, big fella.
He does, and he fouls into the upper deck.
You could be sitting dead red and still be late on Sale.
He strikes out the side. Swinging, Fowler, Denorfia, and Bryant, and the White Sox are coming up. going to hit the West Coast after this one today. 5 out for the second wild card, but trailing 16. Eaton, Abreu, Cabrera in the first inning. Garcia, if anybody reaches. LaRoche, Ramirez. You've got Sanchez moving up, hitting 7th. Flowers catching, and Saladino moves from 2 to 9 in their order.
Cubs defensively, Chris Denorfia gets a start in left today. Fowler center, Soler in right. Jonathan Herrera, a rare start. He's at third today for the 8th time this year. Russell and Castro up the middle. Rizzo's at first. Miguel Montero behind the plate. His battery mate, our Alexis Pursuing Perfection starting pitcher for the Cubs this afternoon, is Dan Haren. His numbers with the Marlins and Cubs combined, 8 and 7. With a 355. This is his 3rd start as a Cub, a winner last time, and it was the 150th win of his big league career.
Daniel John Haren, 34 years old, and a strike called. Yeah, the velocity matchup is kind of fun. 86 miles an hour. And an 84. We're seeing 96s and 97s from Chris Sale. 1-1 to Eaton.
You'll see 87, 88, 89 mile an hour changeups from Chris Sale. The other day when we had the Samardzija Hendricks matchup, we made the comparison to the tortoise and the hare with Jeff blowing and going, and Kyle just trying to finesse you. And we get the same thing here today, even a more extreme example of it. It's a beautiful thing about this game. More than one way to get it done.
Jump in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Haren wearing number 50 as a Cub. That was his original uniform number when he got to the big leagues with the Cardinals in 2003. Popped up behind second and in shallow center, and it'll be Fowler calling out Russell.
Yeah, and Haren has not made it clear that he intends to retire, but he has said that he might. So part of the thinking behind claiming number 50 was to wear the same number he started with and finished with. Maybe that will be the case. Well, he's been durable. He's been really good for a long time. You see where he ranks among active pitchers. Starts, wins, innings. Not a big strikeout guy anymore, but used to be. Always had very good command, doesn't walk people.
Abreu, the DH for the White Sox today. 12th time he has hit second in their lineup, mostly in the 3rd spot. To right center and down for a hit. Abreu's got a single, and he's the first base runner for either team.
There's a lot of work in that direction. Had a good day yesterday. 2 hits plus a walk. One of those hits a double. He had an RBI single in the 7th.
How are you doing tracking the ball off the bat today?
Well, it's the whole visual thing is tough here today.
Yeah, it's very bright. Melky Cabrera.
It's amazing how my brain works. You said it's very bright, and immediately I got Barry White songs playing in my head.
We're thinking of Jerry White. Montero will not have a play. Nine straight wins for the Cubs. 15 out of 16. Looking for their first winning streak of at least 10 games since 2001, when they engineered a 12-game win streak. And now over 500 against the American League, 8 and 7. That's bounced foul to first. Last night's game, far from a masterpiece. Joe Madden, as Joe likes to do. It's a great analogy. He said it was more paint by numbers.
Yeah.
Well said.
There was a lot of coloring outside the lines.
There was.
Sloppy in the field, the base running, not real pretty.
In the dirt, blocked by Montero. He and Haren working together for the second straight start.
You know, that's the thing. We always talk about the little things in baseball, how they make a difference, and they do. But the big things still matter the most. If you pitch well, if you hit the ball well, you're going to win your fair share. You're going to be able to win games where you're a little sloppy in the field or make a base running mistake or two.
Strike 3 called. He got him on a fastball at 87.
Cabrera voicing a little displeasure with DJ Rayburn. We'll check the Menards pitch tracks. Looked like a good pitch. Down around the knees on the outside corner. That's a quality pitch.
It's interesting because of the velocity. And just about everything Haren throws has pretty good movement on it. That kind of looked like a changeup, but that's his fastball.
Yeah, he'll throw 2 seamers. He loves to throw his cutter now. A little get over curveball. Apparently didn't get over.
Really?
Close. Didn't give it to him.
1-0. Garcia takes that for a strike. 2 tries on the curve, and he got 1 call. They're a product of Pepperdine. Pitched alongside left-hander Nolan Lowry in college. Russell will get it to Castro at second. He dropped it. What happened?
Yep. Ripped on it. Ooh. Oh, my. Boy, some errors you can excuse. Man. You just hope this doesn't blossom into anything here with the Sox. With Sale going, you got to play a tight game. Todd Hollingsworth talked about in the pregame. Up against a guy like Sale, you got to be tight. This is anything but tight.
So the error on Castro gives LaRoche a chance. So Haren's got to work out of this now. 2 on, 2 down. One ball, 1 strike. LaRoche snapped an 0 for 15 last night.
Power to double to left over Kyle Schwarber's head. Three out of 7 against Haren. Haren 3-2 in his career against the White Sox with a 4.05 ERA. He's 1-1 with a 3.80 in this ballpark. He's made 4 starts here. This is his first since 2012 in this ballpark.
Old foul past first. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Dan, a fly ball pitcher. Hot weather here. The ball has really been jumping in this ballpark.
Yeah, that's why those errors you really want to limit.
And working the edges here against LaRoche, moving the ball in and out. That's his game.
Swing and a miss to end the inning. So had to make a few extra pitches, but the error does not lead to any runs. Nothing after 1.
Tigers on Wednesday. First pitch in Detroit is at 7:05, and the first 10,000 adults 21 and over will receive a Cubs wine tumbler presented by Barefoot Wine. To purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com.
Kind of a eventful first inning. Chris Sale struck out the side, and Haren had to work to get out of the first after the Castro error. But we are scoreless as we begin the second. Here's Anthony Rizzo. This is a tough matchup for any hitter, lefty or righty, but particularly lefties. Rizzo has been so good against them these last couple of years. It's kind of a fun matchup, swing and a miss.
Career-wise, left-handed batters less than 200 against Sale. For whatever reason, they're getting their hits against him this year. They've hit 279 against him, but no power. He's not allowed a home run to a left-handed hitter. And usually the left-handed hitters that face him are the best in the business. Guys like Rizzo and Joey Votto. Most of the other guys get the day off.
2-1 the count. A couple of guys from Florida. Anthony from Parkland, that's in South Florida. Sale from Lakeland. Almost Joker Marchant Stadium.
Joker Marchant Stadium.
I've never been.
You've never been there.
Tigers spring training home.
Nice little hamlet there. Sleepy little town.
He got him. 4 batters, 4 strikeouts for Sale.
So maybe a little chip on his shoulder here, trying to basically tell his teammates, I got you, boys. Jeopardy of being swept in their home ballpark. Great vibe in the stadium this weekend. Sale trying to win this one all by himself.
Yeah, we've talked before about, especially in the first couple of innings, as a hitter, you head back to the dugout and your teammates are asking, what's he got today? I have a feeling right now there's a lot of head shaking. I got nothing for you. And remember what David Ross said last night about facing Jake Arrieta last year. He basically said Arrieta, Sale were the 2 guys that currently kind of stand out in terms of when they're on their game, you at times feel like you have no chance. That's a bad feeling for a hitter.
Yeah, you're just hoping he makes a couple of mistakes along the way and hangs a breaking ball or maybe tires out.
But with the conditions here, if he makes a mistake or 2, certainly get the ball out of the ballpark.
Yeah, and you hope, second time through the order, guys have had a look at him. They're able to gauge that velocity a little bit better. Earlier this year, he had a streak of 8 consecutive starts with at least 10 strikeouts. Good swing there. He's on pace to strike out 274 this year. That would be a franchise best for the White Sox, and the most since the big unit struck out 290 back in '04.
Not hit very hard on the ground. Saladino will come in, and LaRoche can't handle it. Soler will make his way to second.
And there you go. Sloppiness a theme yesterday, and it rears its ugly head here for both clubs early this afternoon.
Well, a couple of guys who are known as pretty good defenders. The throw was not on line, but LaRoche did get a glove on it.
LaRoche trying to hang on to the corner of the bag.
They're going to give the error to LaRoche.
I think they'll revisit that. For me, that's on Saladino.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Whoever it's on, it's an opportunity for the Cubs, and you don't know how many they're going to get against Sale here this afternoon. A little tweak to the lineup today, so Addison Russell moves up from the 9 hole to the 6th spot. He's swinging it well. A couple of doubles yesterday. He's been handling velocity, so we'll see how Sale goes after him.
Breaking ball strike.
That arm angle, the stuff, reminiscent of Randy Johnson.
Yeah, that almost didn't seem fair. Change up that time. 1-2.
Now, all 3 of his pitches are swing and miss pitches. He gets a lot of swings and misses in the strike zone.
Swing and a miss. Got him on the breaker. 5 strikeouts. 6 batters in. Sale is 26. And sometimes no hitters end up being kind of random in terms of the type of starting pitcher who gets them, not the elite guys always. Nolan Ryan had how many? 7?
7.
Sale's 26. If he pitches until he's 38, I can't imagine he wouldn't
you would think
have 3 or 4,
way, right?
Because when he's on his game, there just aren't going to be a lot of balls put in play. 1-1 to Castro.
Roger Clemens never threw a no-hitter.
That's amazing. One hitter on the 12th of May in 2013 against the Angels for Sale. This year, a 2-hit performance in 8 innings against Texas. So Lair was headed back toward the bag, and that ball got away from Flowers.
Yeah, and that's the other piece of it too. Normally you don't advocate for taking chances on the bases with 2 outs. You're already in scoring position, but I think against a guy like Sale, if you're Joe Madden, you're telling your guys, hey, be ready to take any base we can get.
Ball left field, and coming on is Cabrera, and he makes a catch, and that will end the inning. An error allowing the Cubs to get their first base runner, but no runs.
special encore presentation of Inside Look as CSN goes one-on-one with Bears Super Bowl champion quarterback Jim McMahon. Inside Look, Jim McMahon, presented by Cadillac. That is today after Cubs post-game live. Well, Dan Haren back on the bump, and we've been talking about what a nice career he's had. It was after his last start that he actually said, I've been on 8 different teams, and I can tell already there's a very special vibe to this Cubs clubhouse. I asked him exactly what he meant by that, guys, and he said it's a very unique group of young talent, the veterans, they're hard workers, and they want to win, and he said it's also unique that they're playing such pressure-free baseball in this moment of time, and he gives credit to Joe Maddon doing that because this city certainly wants to see them win. He said he can already tell a difference of when he pitched at Wrigley not long ago. And he said a midweek game, guys, it might be half full at Wrigley. He goes, my last outing against Milwaukee a Wednesday, it was packed, and the guys are feeding off that energy. He said something special is going on right now.
Thanks, Kelly, and we're definitely ready to get back home Tuesday night. Cubs taking full advantage of this long stay here in Chicago.
Joe Maddon, talking before the game today, talked about the atmosphere in this ballpark this weekend. And he thought it was great for his young guys to be exposed to this because it has a bit of a playoff vibe to it. The intensity between the two fan bases, supercharged atmosphere, and then you add to it a guy like Put Sale on the mound, and it definitely has a playoff feel because you run into a lot of frontline pitching in the postseason.
Great challenge for the Cubs bats today. Haren trying to put away Ramirez. The cutter is low and outside. So we head back to Wrigley. 2 against Detroit, 4 versus Atlanta, and then the makeup game versus Cleveland a week from tomorrow before heading out to California. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Haren trying to keep up the strikeout pace of Chris Sale. He's got 3.
But Dan throws a lot of pitches in the same range in terms of velocity, but they move a lot of different ways. Cutter, sinker, splitty. Some come in, some go down, some down and away. Most of it ranging from 84 to 87 miles per hour.
Haren's got that Southern California low-key vibe.
Yeah, what is it? The weather? What is it about Southern California?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of, yeah, that's got to have something to do with it.
Did you take it in school? Is it a class?
I don't know. I walked into the clubhouse today around 10 this morning, and he was the only player actually in the clubhouse. I think Joe's message has really gotten through to guys to get to the ballpark later, particularly day games after night games. But getting to my point about the laid-back nature of Dan Haren, I don't know if he owns a comb or if he ever has. But having run into him in clubhouses around baseball the last decade, he always looks like he just got out of bed. Right? Whether it's a 7 o'clock start or a noon start, he just kind of has that vibe of, what's up, man? Well, Daniel Norris, we're going to see him against the Tigers. He lives in a van down by the river.
Yes.
So we'll see if he's got that look as well.
Serves you well when you do what he does for a living. Yep. Got to be able to roll with it.
Was a loud noise. Haren hopefully is okay. You could clearly hear that deflection off his leg on our field microphone, and it's an infield hit for Sanchez, but Joe Maddon sprinting out there along with P.J. Mainville.
Jake Arrieta took one yesterday, but got him in a good spot. He waved off the trainer. This one obviously a little bit more of an issue for Haren.
lower right leg, and if it got mostly bone, that's going to be a problem.
You know, it sounded, for lack of a better word, chewy. So I'm wondering maybe on the heel. I thought PJ was kind of feeling around the shin area. No, it's up above the ankle. It looked like a direct hit. Sometimes it just takes a little while to let the pain dissipate, walk it off a little bit. That didn't look good. Don't rely on that one to be a decision maker. A couple more.
Yeah, you kind of feel like if he can get through this inning, he might be just fine. But first few pitches could be a bit treacherous.
So above the ankle of the right leg, that's his push-off leg. Didn't look comfortable there, did he?
Nope. Flowers 0 for 3, couple of strikeouts last night.
I think the pickoff move was just to buy him more time before he has to make his next pitch.
Yep. That's a veteran move. Good lead by Sanchez at first. Closer that time. As we get started today, if you missed the other action last night, everybody around the Cubs also won. Cardinals, Pirates, Giants. Standings pretty much remaining the same in that regard as Castro makes the catch, 2 outs. Pirates back-to-back wins in extra innings in New York. They're at the bottom of the 5th today, 1-1. Marlins and Cardinals are tied at 1 in the top of the 2nd early on in St. Louis. Giants will go for a 4-game sweep, and they've got Madison Bumgarner on the mound later against Joe Ross of the fading Nationals. Washington at 558-58.
Considered the class of the National League as the season started. It might cost Matt Williams his job if they don't make the postseason.
Another pop up. This time it's Russell in the outfield grass. So Haren gets hit by a comebacker in the right leg, but is able to battle his way through the inning.
scoreless. This Friday, the 21st, Cubs take on the Braves. We're celebrating the 90s. The Budweiser Bleacher fans 21 and older will receive a reissue neon Cub hat in one of 2 popular colors. Fun 90s themed pop culture will be featured throughout the ball game. For tickets, visit Cubs.com.
Scorcher here on the south side. 94 degrees as we got started. And could increase as the afternoon moves along. We're back watching games as a kid. St. Louis, Kansas City, and Cincinnati, and they'd have the thermometer on the artificial turf. These August matinees, readings of 125 degrees.
Yeah, the old timers on a real hot day used to put cabbage leaves in there. Sometimes position players on the turf would wrap their feet in saran plastic wrap.
Montero punches out 6 for Sale, all swinging. Here's Herrera. So it's
cabbage leaves, yeah.
What's the?
I think the moisture is to help keep you cool. And then you could make a nice cabbage roll after the game.
I don't think that's something.
A little ground beef in there and roll it up.
Eat.
This is one of those days where you hardly ever start, and your manager says, "Hey, you're in there tomorrow." It's like, "Oh, thanks, Skip. Thanks for the starting assignment." Maybe somebody other than Chris Sale.
Schwarber gets a day off. Contact, but an out as Herrera grounds to Ramirez. 2 outs here in the third. It'll bring up Fowler.
Well, Herrera, the kind of guy that might do some damage against Sale, or at least, as we've seen, put the ball in play, doesn't overswing.
That's a strike. On the move is Eaton, and in right center he makes the catch. We go to the bottom of the third. Wrap that around
your cabbage,
today.
yeah, baby.
Northside Data Strong fan, you just might see yourself later in the game. Brought to you by T-Mobile.
This Saturday, Cubs take on the Braves. First pitch will be at 3:05. First 10,000 fans in the ballpark will receive a John Lester debut bobblehead presented by Las Vegas. For tickets, visit Cubs.com.
Dan Haren in the second. Comebacker off his lower right leg, maybe just above the ankle. Was able to continue. Right on the ankle.
Seems to be favoring it just a little bit now, and he was late coming out to take his warm-ups. Getting some treatment, getting a little wrap on there, perhaps.
Cabbage wrap.
A little cabbage wrap.
Second time through. Eaton, Abreu, and Cabrera. Herrera in on the grass at third. Guarding against a possible bunt. Good curveball. 0-2. Jake Arrieta last night got his 14th win. Cubs starters in a great stretch. 11-0 over the last 16 games with a .282 as a staff. Arrieta's 14 wins, the most by a Cub since Ryan Dempster had 15 in 2010. We still have a long way to go.
What, 8 or 9 starts left, probably?
You and I are not much for the win, the pitcher win, but to get to 20 would be pretty special. No Cub has done it since John Lieber in 2001. Strike three.
Fourth one for Haren. Cutter, top of the zone. 2 swinging, 2 looking. Best strikeout game this year, 7. Done it a couple of times. Career best 14 3 years ago.
Another curve is in there. White Sox have 2 hits. The Cubs have 0. Abreu singled in the first. Sanchez, the infield hit in the second.
Spazio, in his conversation earlier, was talking about Dan Haren as a pitch maker, and you'll see, you can check that Menard's pitch tracks. You'll see a lot of pitches on the edges with Dan Haren. In, out, and top bottom of the strike zone. Very few of those.
Soler is back, and it's going to get out of here just over the barrier. Jose Abreu gives the White Sox a 1-0 lead.
Because when he does throw it over the middle of the plate, the potential for disaster is there, especially with a guy like Abreu in the batter's box. He's having a very nice series. Home run's a big part of the Dan Haren story. He surrenders a lot of them. A great percentage of them are solo shots, as this one was. And again, Abreu with a really good opposite field stroke.
Ford home run replay. For 22 for Abreu. So 1-0. A strike to Cabrera. hard in the right. Comes Garcia.
Miguel Montero doing the catching today. Twofold. One, even though Chris Sale's on the mound and you like to have as many right-handed hitters against him as possible, David Ross caught the ball game last night. I think Joe feels very good about using David day game after night game, especially in this heat. And Montero has caught Dan Haren a whole bunch back in the day when they were together in Arizona.
Haren admitted he did find his comfort zone with Miguel in his last start since they had previously worked together. Different signs for different pitches. Usually 3 means slider. In Haren's case, it's the cutter. The other day, Giovanni Soto, he put down 2 fingers for Jeff Samardzija. That was his cutter. Two and one.
Now Jeff doesn't throw a curveball. I still think you got to come up with something different. 2's got to be the curve. If you don't have a curveball, you just don't use 2. Just doing that to cross up the announcers.
That's a strike. And it's even at 2 apiece. Big game in Toronto. Blue Jays lead the Yankees 3-1. Bottom of the 6th in that one. Yankees winning the first 2 games of that set. Garcia slams his bat down as he pops out to Russell. 2 outs.
He's not really pleased with the previous strike call from DJ Rayburn. I thought maybe he would say something to Rayburn on the way by. He did not. The reaction to the called strike kind of took him out of the at-bat. That was the challenge for a pitcher from pitch to pitch. You can't let whatever the previous pitch affect you. Can't let the umpire affect your approach.
Strike to LaRoche. He struck out to end the first with a couple of men on. Cubs overshift against him. They brought the third baseman Herrera over into the hole, playing in shallow right. See Russell, the shortstop, Castro, the second baseman, both near the bag. Around toward left in the outfield. Ground ball right at Castro. Jose Abreu with an opposite field home run, and the White Sox strike first. It's 1-0 after 3.
Say Rugby Eagles will kick off against the Australia Wallabies. Witness the action live Labor Day weekend at Soldier Field. You can get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com. They are on sale now. We welcome you back. Top of the fourth here, and the Cubs' Chris Bryant as the DH today. Joe Madden wanting to give him a little time off of his feet. Of course, it's been Kyle Schwarber the past couple days, and Madden, well, I should say on Friday, but Madden, you know, a little concerned, guys, he said, when it comes to young guys and being able to understand how to stay prepared in that role as a designated hitter. So I asked Chris Bryant today how he would kind of handle that, and he said in between innings he'd go back, look at video, and, of course, watch each and every pitch. So he said he certainly would still be on his feet, walking around and staying active. But an interesting role for him nonetheless. He said his first time of doing it in the majors.
Thanks, Kelly. The DHs have been very productive, mostly Schwarber, but the Cubs DHs have hit a collective .333. They don't mind these interleague games. Schwarber now in the mix. And Denorfia awkwardly swung at that pitch, and he's out. Flowers can't find the ball. What happened? Denorfia didn't make a move toward home to first. Did the ball hit him? That's my question.
I'm guessing, because the fact that the out call was made, so the umpire basically killed the play. Yep,
it
hit
is
him in the back foot.
So he is out. Okay. Otherwise,
good call by Rayburn.
A runner would head to first.
Talking with Joe today, you know, we've talked about a lot this year. He's got those cards with the outcome probability cards, shaded different colors for ground ball, fly ball, strikeout, all the different things. And he said he's not sure if he's ever seen one like today's, where either all of his guys or certainly all the guys in the lineup were red, so they're above whatever the threshold is for a high strikeout chance. This is a team that swings and misses a lot, and again, Sale's a guy who gets a lot of swings and misses.
Rizzo's the guy who has swung at strike three on pitches that have hit him before. Denorfia doing it here on the nasty pitch from Sale, and that's 8 strikeouts.
This is pretty remarkable what this kid's got going here.
He is on a pace to set a club record for strikeouts. Remember, he started the season a little late. Pitched in the 6th game of the year for the White Sox. He suffered a broken right foot in an off-field accident at the beginning of spring training. And he had another start pushed back a little bit after serving a 5-game suspension for his role in the bench-clearing brawl with Kansas City. But this is getting a little ridiculous. It has been whiff city here early on.
This is Kerry Woodish.
Yes, it is. 3 strikeouts in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third. He's got 2 already here in the fourth, and the only base runner for the Cubs was Soler reaching on the error in the second. 0-2. Ramirez will head back to the other side of second. He was shifting in the pull area. With 2 strikes, I'm assuming Rizzo will be in protect mode.
I think against a guy like Sale, especially for a left-handed hitter, not a bad idea to be in protect mode from the get-go.
Yeah. Did you see that sign?
I did not.
Well, we go back and see Flowers and the sign he gave to Sale.
Playing charades back there.
I guess you got to see it. Called strike 3. We'll come back and give you that sign. 9 through 4. And the Cubs don't have a hit. 1-0.
September 1st for their annual Healthcare Professionals Night. Purchase your tickets through the Cubs special events page, and each participant will receive a special Cubs scrub top. Visit Cubs.com/special events.
Just watch a catcher, Tyler Flowers, during this sequence against Anthony Rizzo. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, he does what a pitcher oftentimes would do when getting his side work in, letting the catcher know what's coming. Throw a little sinker, a little change piece here down.
Pulled deep to left, Alexei Ramirez with a home run. 2 runs for the White Sox on 2 solos. This one leading off the bottom of the 4th.
Had a down year for Ramirez. He's certainly capable. That's his 8th home run of the year. 26th allowed by Dan. Flip up a get over curveball, backs up on him, stays on the inner half. There's your Ford home run replay.
One strike on Sanchez. One shank foul behind third. 0-2.
Cubs' greatest asset today might be the heat.
Yep.
Sale can run out of gas here through the middle innings of this game or start to show some signs of letting up.
And this is where an American League park really helps a pitcher on a 94-degree day, because between innings he doesn't have to think about when his spot is due up in the batting order. I assume he's going back and at least at times sitting in the air conditioning.
Yeah, either get up into the clubhouse in the AC or find a cooler spot in the tunnel with a big fan blowing on you. Got that towel dumped in ice water, ammonia water, wrap that around the neck. Meanwhile, that guy that just walked in behind home plate's wearing a jacket.
Yes, the M&M jacket guy.
He's a guy. That's a slave to fashion right there, if you're wearing a jacket when it's this hot.
Fouled away. So right now, the story of this game is Chris Sale. He's got a 2-0 lead when he heads back out there, at the very least in the 5th inning. Castro, it's a true hop. Gets Sanchez. We're talking about no-hit bids earlier. Cole Hamels was dealing when he no-hit the Cubs at Wrigley Field last month. Chris Sale has been even better today. But if you had to do the math and say what are the odds he no-hits the Cubs today, they would be very low.
Oh, absolutely.
So that does tell you about what no-hitters mean. There are many who believe Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout one-hitter against the Astros is the most dominating pitching performance ever. Diving stop, Herrera, and he's got time, and he gets Flowers. What a play by Jonathan Herrera.
Typically not a lot of action in the infield when Haren pitches, more of a fly ball type pitcher, but always got to be at the ready, and Herrera certainly was. Pretty play.
Saladino softly lines one, and that ball's going to roll a while. Soler cuts it off, but Saladino's got a double. He actually hit it harder than I thought. It seemed to be hit that hard off the bat, but it had some carry on it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was surprised that one got as far as it did. Kind of a theme yesterday. A bunch of 2-out doubles in the ball game yesterday.
Eaton in the air to right. Another deep one. This ball is going to stay in the yard on the warning track. Soler makes the catch. And the inning is over. Leadoff homer Ramirez. 2-0 White Sox after 4. Speeds all day for Chris Sale. He has struck out the side twice already in the first and then in the fourth. 9 overall. He's given up 1 base runner. That was on an error. He has a 2-0 lead. Facing Jorge Soler. He reached on the 2-base error by Adam LaRoche in the second. Only Cub to get on base. Change up.
Yeah.
All arms and legs coming at you.
Well, that's the other thing. There's the great stuff, but there's also some funk going on with that delivery that can make it a little disconcerting for the hitter.
Slider misses low.
Like facing a 98-mile-an-hour throwing Ichabod Crane.
2-2. Inside. Russell next. Sale has a pretty team-friendly multi-year contract. This year making $6 million. Most he'd make in this contract as he just walks Soler would be $13.5 million in 2019. That is extremely club-friendly.
There's been talk over the last couple of years about the White Sox in a rebuild mode. Would they trade Chris Sale? And the knee-jerk reaction is crazy, given how good he is and the contract you just spoke to. But put yourself in their shoes and the type of assets you could get in return because of those factors, because of his age, his ability, and the nature of his contract.
I guess the other question would be, could you get enough?
Well, that's the thing. That's
return.
Yeah, and I guess my point is, for me, everybody is tradable. Right? There's a price for everybody.
Russell went around. And it's 1-1. On the borderline.
Yeah, he's going to have to get that front foot down earlier, too. You just got to do things a little bit quicker here to contend with Sale. 90-mile-an-hour changeup.
Sale has a notorious appetite and clearly great metabolism. It was claimed in a Wall Street Journal piece once that on a flight from Chicago to California, he ate 2 ice cream sundaes and 30 bags of potato chips. Adam Dunn once joked, you know, I'm the fat guy trying to get skinny. He's the skinny guy trying to get fat. When he went into high school, he was 5'8" and just over 100 pounds. He grew 4 inches before his junior year. He's now at 6'6", 180. It was 6'6", 163 when he signed with the White Sox. And he got drafted in 2010, 13th overall, and later that year made his major league debut. Popped him up. And shallow center, it's Eaton, and he makes a catch. Nothing but his appetite. I suppose Adam Eaton had to be involved in that play.
Well, after 2 ice cream sundaes and 30 bags of chips, he gained to 2 pounds, and it was a zit. So 2-pound zit on his forehead when he got off the airplane.
There's Castro. I'm picturing John Belushi right now in Animal House. Mashed potatoes.
See if you can guess what I am then.
It's a strike.
That is, as Joe says, that is firm there. That crossfire to the inside part on a right-handed hitter. A little loose with that one.
Travis Wood. Two and 1 the count. Montero on deck.
Get it ready, Starlin. Trying to overthrow those last couple of fastballs.
It's like another sellout here. Over 39,000 last night. Very rowdy audience.
Situation where Joe likes to start base runners, but with all the swings and misses that Sale's getting, might shut him down.
Right center. And Garcia has this one. Ball's in play. Error by LaRoche. Ground out to short. in this inning, fly to center, fly to right. That's it. Everything else has been a walk or a strikeout. 9 punch outs, 1 walk.
Past 200 strikeouts for the year. So he joins Hall of Famer Ed Walsh as the only pitchers in White Sox history to strike out 2 or more in 3 consecutive seasons.
Foul tip, 0-2. By the way, the tying run is at the plate. Did I mention that? Not anymore.
Yeah, it feels like a lopsided game, doesn't it? Because the Cubs haven't been able to do anything. But yeah, there's a mistake and one big swing away from tying it.
Got a no-hitter through 5 with 10 strikeouts, 2-0.
Thanks, Cap. The Nuveen Investment Suite is going to accommodate anywhere from 15 to 55 guests, include food. All you can drink beverages and parking. To book your premier experience at the ballpark, visit Cubs.com/suites.
Care to share? Is that only a voice you can hear?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. 1 strike on Abreu. He gave the White Sox the lead with a 3rd inning home run.
I thought we had breaking news.
This was a tie-breaking opposite field home run. Just enough to get it out. And lines to DeNorpia. Sliding grab by Chris.
When he makes an out, he hits it hard. Shelby Miller has a no-hitter going. 1-0 Braves over the Diamondbacks, middle of the 7th in Atlanta.
I think he's thrown a lot of pitches in that game. Let's check it out here. 1-0 to Cabrera, outside 2-0. Miller 102 pitches through 7, so he can be efficient.
Man, he just missed one earlier this year, 2 outs in the 9th against the Marlins. Doing against a very good hitting Diamondback club.
Speaking of the Marlins, the Cardinals lead them 3-1 after 4. In St. Louis, Jason Hayward has 2 home runs. Average is up to 290. Pulled deep to right. Way back and gone. A home run for Cabrera. He kept it fair. And it's 3-0 White Sox.
Third home run of the day for the Sox. It's cut fastball, trying to get in on him, and Cabrera clears the front side, drops the head on it, and hits his 8th home run of the year. That's your 4th home run replay. The 3 solo shots for the Sox here this afternoon.
I think a lot of people in the ballpark were expecting that ball to hook foul, and it never did. Towering fly ball off the bat of Garcia. Well, he didn't miss it by much. It stays in the park as Denorfia makes a catch. Garcia just kind of looking up toward the sky. So. Will be it for Haren, it appears. There's Travis Wood. Is ready in the Cubs bullpen, and it'll be a Weber Sauces and Seasonings call to the pen. Why grill with anything else? 3-0 White Sox in the 5th. Innings call to the pen, and here is left-hander Travis Wood. Probably the only bad thing for Travis about this appearance, well, number one, the Cubs are trailing, but he can't hit today in an American League park.
Yeah, you know, he'd like to get a crack at it here on this hot day with the wind blowing out, but he's got the more important task here, and that's to finish off the Sox in the 5th inning. He's got Adam LaRoche coming up to hit, a left-handed hitter with power. Dan Haren has surrendered 3 solo home runs today. Joe Madden knows that scoring off Chris Sale is going to be a bit of an issue, so he's got to do everything he can to set the Sox down. So he takes the opportunity to bring the lefty in here to face LaRoche.
2 outs here in the 5th. The run in on the Cabrera homer. 1 ball and no strikes. Wood started the year as the Cubs, I guess 4th or 5th starter, however you want to put it. He was in the rotation. His numbers have been a lot better in relief. Seven starts, a .559 ERA, 28 appearances out of the pen with a 3.18.
Cubs now with 3 left-handed options in the bullpen. Clayton Richard has done a nice job out there, and obviously James Russell's had a good year.
But that part of the bullpen has been really interesting to watch from day one, right? The main matchup guy to start the year called strike 3 was Phil Koch. He's no longer in the organization. 3-0 White Sox after 5. Don't miss your chance to catch the best matchups in baseball. Reserve your place in line for history in the making. Join the season ticket holder waiting list. It's easy and free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list. Chris Sale, a no-hitter through 5 as he starts the 6th inning. Jonathan Herrera shows bunt, pulls the bat back,
Pulls the body back.
1 ball and no strikes.
Didn't have to be.
But the corner, apparently 1-1. Foul fly. LaRoche has it. Garcia and Sanchez in the area. One out now. It's Dexter Fowler.
I don't think I would want to be run into by Garcia. He's a good kid. Sale misfired with a couple of fastballs last inning. He walked Soler to start the inning. He's showing some signs of
There's a base hit. Dexter Fowler pulls one into left.
There you go.
So the no-hit bid ends here in the 6th inning.
Yeah, just one strikeout in the last 6 batters faced, so the Cubs starting to get a better feel, perhaps. It's Fisher scorer's dream there with a no-hitter. That's a nice clean single, no debates, no issues. Now, 3rd time through, the Cubs can inflict some damage.
There are times when that is a pitching coach and manager's dream come true as well. Because if you get a guy like Sale into the late innings with a no-hit bid on a hot day like this, and his pitch count reaches 120, 125, reaches toward 130, and you're in the 8th inning, that is a horrible position for a manager to be in. Won't have to worry about that today. Swing and a miss. So now the Cubs are on the hit board, try to get back into this game down 3-0 with their 9-game winning streak on the line.
Norfia, Bryant, and Rizzo 0 for 6 with 6 strikeouts.
Ball 4, and the Cubs have 2 on for the first time. His 2nd walk. Cubs wouldn't mind an air show here at U.S. Cellular Field with a tying run now at the plate.
Exactly what you're hoping for in that visitor's dugout. You get a couple guys on, and somebody with some legit pop steps to the plate. One swing, you tie this ball game. Chris Bryant has struck out twice this afternoon. We've seen backdoor breaking balls, elevated fastballs, changeups down and away.
AT&T U-verse multi-view. Cubs with a chance. They haven't had many against Chris Sale today. Here it is. 1-1.
Chris Bryant, a good day yesterday. 2 singles in Milwaukee, and a high fastball off Quintana to left field for a solid single, then shot one to right.
Two.
To get him to chase that changeup, Bryant would have none of it.
The payoff delivery, and we'll do it again. struck him out. Number 11 for Sale.
And he has that ability that so few guys have to just beat you in the strike zone. And this is pretty good at bat for Chris Bryant. He really put up a good fight. Just got beat. I mean, Sale challenges the heart of the zone. That's belt high over the middle at 98.
Well, and that's why I think against him, you know, some people earlier were saying, well, why are they swinging at everything? He's not this wild guy who's just firing bullets all over the place. He does challenge guys. And a strike.
That's the thing. It can look bad, but when the guy throws that hard, you have to get it started early to have any chance to hit the fastball. And if you're throwing something else, you're going to take some wild swings.
It hit him. The question is, did he swing? He did not. Joe West on appeal said he did not swing. So Rizzo, hit by a pitch, will take first. Good call. So Rizzo now has been hit a major league leading 24 times.
The White Sox are thinking about challenging that call.
Maybe that it hit him or it didn't.
Yeah. Or can you challenge the swing? You can't challenge the swing or not.
I think so.
Maybe they thought perhaps it was a foul ball.
Let's see. No,
it
did
may
hit
have got
the
the bat, but it got the arm first.
Yep, hit him first. So the bases are loaded for Jorge Soler. He's actually reached twice, once on an error and then on a walk. Pitch number 100 for Sale. It's a strike.
If nothing else, this inning is going to force Sale out of this game a little earlier than Robin Ventura would like.
Nick Ahmed has ended Shelby Miller's no-hit bid in the 8th inning in Atlanta. Dexter Fowler ended Sayers' bid here in the 6th. 1-2. Soler is not getting cheated today.
And the book on Soler is spin the ball, but Sale challenging with fastballs. And that's what you do, I guess, when you throw 98. But everything's in play here. Soler's really got a battle.
A 1-2 offering. He fouls it back.
Now, I'm not saying Sale can't beat Soler with a fastball as hard as he throws. But the one thing the pitcher's got to guard against is getting caught up in the moment. The crowd cheering, adrenaline pumping. He makes a mistake with that heater, Soler might make him pay.
Yeah, he could hit one under the Dan Ryan with his power and Sale's velocity, and he makes a mistake. Bases loaded. Another 1-2 called strike 3. So he went with a slider and he gets Soler and has 12 strikeouts on the day. The no-hitter is gone, but he still has a 3-0 lead.
Sale strikes out Soler to finish the inning. Starts with a high breaking ball. Got the call. Did not get the call in an inside corner fastball. Then a couple challenge heaters. Soler had good swings. Just couldn't quite get the barrel out in front of those good fastballs. And then Sale gets a benefit of the doubt call on the backdoor curveball or slider.
Travis Wood. The curve to Alexei Ramirez.
I mean, it's kind of a hitting coach thing, but when you analyze that at bat by Soler, I mean, he swung at pitches he should be swinging at. He took pitches he should be taking. He just didn't catch up to those heaters.
What are you going to do on that last pitch? That's not a strike, but it's called that way. We see it happen a lot. Two balls and a strike. Ramirez has a homer today. Ball four.
Pirates and Mets are still tied 1-1, bottom of the sixth in New York. See what the Baltimores are doing to the Oaklands today?
Tell me.
17-2 for the Baltimores.
Playing that one at Fenway. Mariners the upper hand at Boston today, 8-3 in the bottom of the seventh. They gave up 37 runs the first two nights of that series.
Baltimore has 17 runs on 21 hits.
I got to look at the Mariners team ERA and see what this weekend has done to it. Now we're deep into the season too. Fouled back by Sanchez.
Yeah, it takes a lot of carnage for that ERA to take a big jump this time of year.
So a 3-0 win at Baltimore before they went to Fenway. So they got their ERA down to 3.96. 34 earned runs up to 419 in 2 days in Boston. So it went up basically a quarter of a run in 2 days.
It's pretty amazing. Former Cub Steve Clevenger having a big day for the O's today. He just got called up. He's 3 for 4. Gerardo Parra's 5 out of 5. This box score update being brought to you by
Sale at 104 pitches through 6. There is no action in their bullpen. And I do think Robin is managing today, considering they lost the first 2. They're on the very outer edges of the wild card race. I think he's going to push Sale as long as he can with the heat the way it is as Wood strikes out Sanchez. Lee Hunter up in the Cubs pen.
Contemplating a trip to Wrigley? How about using public transportation? If you ride your bike, use the Cubs courtesy bike check located at Clark and Addison. And if you drive your car, the Cubs provide free parking and shuttle service on night and weekend games. That's from 3900 North Rockwell. Details at Cubs.com.
So it's over in Toronto. Blue Jays 3-1 over the Yankees to get them back to within a half game of the American League East lead.
We had a wardrobe malfunction here for Montero. One of the things that draws kids to catching when they're young, just the gear, being able to wear the gear.
It's a lot of extra work, isn't it? Runner goes, Ramirez. Out, he got him. Sure didn't look like Montero was going to get him, but he did. The tag out by a lot, actually.
Yeah, Miggy actually hesitated a beat before making the throw, but he got a lot on it. Ramirez with the lefty on the mound did not have a good jump. A heck of a tag by Castro.
So the 2-1 to Flowers, misses 3-1. Second walk of the inning.
Pretty good looking pitch, and DJ Rayburn's been fairly generous today. Number 5 here on our pitch tracks. Borderline.
Saladino, strike one. Astro will flip to Russell at the bag, and the inning comes to an end. So we'll go off to the 7th. It's 3-0 White Sox. Your strongest fan photo to Northside Data Strong Fan. You just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. Sale will start the 7th. There is some action in the bullpen.
Yeah, and again, you know, the Cubs failed to score in the 6th, but perhaps took a bit of a bite out of him. Made him work awfully hard.
Nate Jones, a right-hander out there. Russell will lead it off. Still within reach, 3-0. Just would like to knock this guy out of the game here. So you go back to that series at Wrigley Field in July. The White Sox won the first 2 games. Jake Arrieta went the distance in Game 3 and hit a home run as they salvaged the finale. The home team did. As Russell takes a feeble cut at strike 3. So here on the south side, the Cubs winning the first 2 games. Chris Sale here in Game 3 has 13 strikeouts and has allowed just 1 hit into the 7th.
Yeah, and overpowering hitters, but the Russell at bat, a different game from Sale. He went change-up, curveball to get Russell.
Ball 1 on Castro. So let's see. Castro and Herrera, the only 2 Cubs today to not strike out to this point. 1-1. Off the plate inside. So Castro punches out for the first time. That's 14. Ties Sale's career high in strikeouts. 3rd time he's done it. Check that. Ties his season high. 3rd time he's done it. His career high is 15. In 2012. Hard and foul. Sale is a power pitcher, and you made the Randy Johnson comparison. Because the changeup and the slider is so good, he should age well, right? In the funk, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So even when he's throwing 92, 93.
Velocity, I think he'd still be a very effective pitcher.
Montero whiffs. 3 times he has struck out all 3 batters in an inning. 15. That does tie his career high. Maybe it for him today, as he leads with a 3-0 lead in the 7th. Tune in to CSN every weekday morning for the Cap and Haw Show presented by Horwitz and Associates. Tomorrow the guys will talk with former Cubs manager Lou Piniella. Don't miss the Cap and Haw Show weekday mornings at 9 on Comcast Sportsnet. Well, we know about Robin Ventura, the manager. Here's Robin Ventura as the player, one of the best college players ever. And he had a great career at Oklahoma State. At one point had a 58-game hitting streak. And played in the big leagues for 16 major league seasons. Terrific defensively.
Lots of grand slams, right?
I'm looking it up. Yeah, he had in his career 18 regular season grand slams.
Inducted into the College Baseball Hall of Fame. He may have even been voted the best college player ever.
All-Star 92 and 02. Six-time Gold Glover, Robin Ventura.
And I've never heard a baseball person utter a negative word about Robin Ventura.
Totally right. Yep. Travis Wood will continue on. Bottom of the 7th. The Cubs trailing 3-0. Pretty sure Sale is done after 7. 116 pitches on a very hot afternoon. You know, and I would say, obviously the Cubs strike out a lot. We know that. Sale had his really good stuff today. But the Cubs' penchant for working deep counts, even if they did end in strikeouts, did shorten his start a little bit.
Yeah, and that's when you go into a game against a guy like Sale. You don't really need to emphasize it with the Cub hitters because that's the way most of them approach it. But that's something you talk about. Hey, let's make this guy work. Let's not make it easy for him.
Strikes out Eaton. People on Twitter are saying, JD, I don't know if Nolan Ryan would have great things to say about Robin. Well, I would probably disagree. Actually, Nolan.
Yeah, he does have
the upper
things to say about Robin.
Yeah. It was Robin's greatest moment, but video we've seen many times. That's it for Travis Wood. Weber's Sauces and Seasonings. Call to the pen. Why grill with anything else? Here's Tommy Hunter when we come back. Tommy Hunter, season acquisition from the Baltimore Orioles.
Hunter, hard thrower, 3-2, 3.83 ERA, 45 games. Just about all of them with Baltimore, a handful here with the Cubs. Seen him light up the radar gun at 99 miles an hour. But at times he's been a little too middle of the plate-ish. This is his 7th appearance with the Cubs.
Strike to Abreu.
Should be fresh. He hasn't been out there in a while. A couple good breaking balls to get started. First appearance in this series. Worked twice in the Brewers series.
Fouled it off himself. 0-2 to Abreu. Ball and 2 strikes. Hunter is from Indianapolis. His wife is pregnant with their first child, and very pregnant, like 8 months in. So this is kind of a big time for him professionally and personally. Kind of worked out well that he's back in the Midwest. Got a family around.
Miles an hour.
That. Some Cholula hot sauce right there. Maybe the first Cub to reach 100 this year. I saw somewhere that the top 100 pitches in terms of velocity this year have all been thrown by Aroldis Chapman.
Is that right?
Yeah. Rizzo over near the dugout and no play.
I saw somebody, the Tucker kid with the Astros, somebody hit a home run the other day on a 99.9 mile an hour fastball. It was the fastest pitch hit for a home run this year. Basically telling the world, if you can't reach triple digits, don't try to sneak it by me.
He walked him.
Trying to sneak a fastball by Preston Tucker is like trying to sneak a pork chop by a wolf. Somebody said that about Henry Aaron. Or maybe it was Lefty O'Doul. Well, if you're going to try to mount a comeback against the White Sox bullpen, obviously you don't want to give up any more. That's a bit of an issue here for Tommy Hunter as he works with man on first base. Cabrera homered last time. He's also singled today. Breaking ball can be a good ground ball pitch for Hunter.
Made it 3-0 in the 5th inning. Tucked it inside the foul pole and right. Plenty of distance. The question was, would it be fair? And it was. Second sellout of the series today. 39,475. Just less than we had here last night. 39,579. I was looking around the park and I was thinking it looks like it's about 110 less people in here than last night. It was pretty close.
Yeah, they said they had tickets to the air show and they didn't want to pass that up. Even though the air show's free and you don't need a ticket. Tommy Hunter, formerly a Texas Ranger, a starting pitcher with the Rangers and a successful one for a time. Had a nice run with the Orioles. Joe Maddon very happy with the work he's been getting from Grimm and Strop and Rondon. Tommy Hunter could be an X factor, another power arm from the right side.
Hey, Justin Grimm celebrating a birthday today. Happy 27th. Spending his day destroying Gatorade cups. Line to deep left, and Northia makes the play.
What did Kelly say that Joe Maddon called him his mid-game closer? Yeah, I like that terminology.
I like it a lot.
That mid-game closer, sometimes he's got a little heavier lifting to do than the real closer, the ninth inning guy, because sometimes he'll come on with a man on base or face the fat part of the order in a dangerous situation. Really, almost always, when you think about it, the closer sometimes comes in. It's a 3-run game in the ninth, but in Grimm's role, it's almost always a real tight game.
It's like the game kind of hangs in the balance.
Yu Darvish celebrating a birthday today as well.
I was going to say, how old is you? But people would think I should say, how old are you? But I do mean, is you?
Happy birthday to you. Well, he is 2 years older than Grimm.
29.
29.
Two strikes on Garcia.
He's the only guy that song is sung specifically to him. Happy birthday to you.
Looks like it'll be Jones in the 8th for the White Sox. We've not seen their closer yet in this series, David Robertson. Likely to see him today. If the White Sox have any chance to hang around the wild card race, they're going to have to win at least 2 of 3, preferably a sweep in Anaheim. Although the Orioles might end up being the wild card leader by the time that series starts. Texas in the mix, Minnesota just a couple games out. Same for Tampa Bay. Detroit's still not out of it yet. A lot of teams chasing.
see it putting up a heck of a fight here.
Long at bats here in the 7th inning. Foul tip, strike 3, and the inning is over. We go to the 8th, still 3-0 White Sox.
Pretty easy today. Chris Sale, the big lefty for the White Sox, on top of his game from the get-go. Struck out the side, all swinging in the first inning to set the tone. Ends up going 7 one-hit innings. Doesn't allow any runs. Walks a couple, strikes out 15 to match his career high. Impressive work by the big left-hander. And now the White Sox turn to the bullpen. Nate Jones, back from an injury. He has pitched 3 times with the White Sox. He too an extreme hard thrower. He can light up that radar gun up around 90 miles an hour. He's charged with the 8th. Robertson, the closer, will be pegged for the 9th here. But the Cubs try to do a little damage before that happens. And Kyle Schwarber is going to come off the bench to take this AB.
Well, anybody but Sale, right? Got 2 innings here to get some work done. Trailing by 3. Jones has a unique delivery as he really holds the ball back behind his head before he fires it in at 98 miles an hour there on ball 1.
Yeah, if he smoothed out his mechanics, he could really throw hard.
The ball had a little tailing action up in the strike zone. Swing and a miss. 1-1. So I guess that White Sox series in Anaheim is a 4-game set. So that actually helps the White Sox. More games they can have against teams they're trailing, the better. Every team wants to be able to control its own destiny. We'll go to Seattle and come home, play Boston and the Mariners, so the schedule does lighten up a little bit. Cubs back home, 3 opponents, 7 games. Starting Tuesday night, 2 against Detroit, 4 versus Atlanta, and then the makeup game against Cleveland. Called strike 3. 16 strikeouts by White Sox pitching today.
And not an easy guy to face when you're coming off the bench, you know, for a couple of reasons. One, the stuff, 2, the funk factor. Looks a lot different than many pitchers you face. me of an archer drawing back the bow and then letting it fly.
Way inside that time.
I guess so.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. He's got a good arm. Tommy John surgery July of last year. He has returned and he's throwing bullets. Coughlin for DeNorfield. See Chris Coughlin play third here late. Schwarber batting for Herrera. It was a rough year for Jones last year. 2 appearances in April. On the DL with a strained left hip. Back surgery in May. Elbow reconstruction 2 months later.
29 years of age now. He was drafted by the Sox in 07.
Just back from the DL, recovering from Tommy John. And he just struck out the side. Goodness. 18 punch-outs for White Sox pitching today, and they've struck out the side 4 different times. Here's Chris Coughlin at third, where he started his minor league career. And James Russell will take over on the mound.
43rd time for James this year. Only 2 of the 3.21 ERA. For 28 innings, he's allowed just 1 home run. Not a big strikeout guy. Pitches to contact. Good off-speed stuff.
Coughlin comes into play third, and now he's playing shallow right. The shift against LaRoche, who drives it the other way. Schwarber just into the game. Involved in the action as he makes the grab.
Dan Haren, started for the Cubs today. 4 2/3, 7 hits, 3 runs, all coming on solo home runs. Travis Wood, an inning and 2/3 scoreless. Walked a couple, struck out 3. Tommy Hunter, 2/3 scoreless, a walk and a strikeout.
Strike on Ramirez. So the Cubs, with their 9-game win streak on the line, does not look good at the moment. They'll have a shot against David Robertson in the 9th. And not to, overblow one day or one game, but when the Cubs swept the Giants at Wrigley Field last week at 4 games, one thing about the Giants you notice is they didn't give up late, and I don't think the Cubs have. They've kind of been dominated by really good pitching today, but it'd be nice to give Robertson a finish, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
And that's kind of the sign of a quote champion, and we saw it from the Giants last weekend as the Cubs had to hang on by the skin of their teeth on Sunday. So if you go down, you don't want to go down quietly.
Do not go quietly into that good night.
Right. You'll have Bryant, Rizzo, and Soler.
Robertson has not been bulletproof this year.
Cubs are not near their strikeout record as an offense. 23 is their team record. Got 18 so far as Ramirez grounds out. 2 away.
23 in a 9-inning game.
I have to check. That probably is extras. That game was 16 innings, so I don't know the 9-inning record.
How many Koufax have in a perfect game?
Do not know.
14, I think.
Look up.
Well, the way things have been going here today, if Robertson doesn't strike out the side, he's going to feel like an underachiever.
Sanchez pulls it to left. He'll stand at second for the double.
Joe Madden's not giving up. He's going to make a pitching change.
So Weber sauces and seasonings called to the pen in the 8th. Here comes Jason Mott.
Comes Jason Mott for the 53rd time. His timing's been really good this year. He's picked up 7 wins along the way. A 3.65 ERA. He last worked on Thursday against the Brewers and had 4 days off prior to that. So not a lot of work for Jason in recent days. That outing against Milwaukee, a scoreless inning. He allowed a hit, had a strikeout. Looked like he was trying to manipulate the ball a little bit more in that outing, trying to throw more of a slider. It's usually just power stuff, fastball, cutter. To me, like he was trying to get on top of the ball and create a little more depth. Like that.
Gets away from Montero.
A lot of catcher tries to backhand that ball in the dirt and usually doesn't work out. Jason Mott, 33 years of age, made his major league debut with the Cardinals in 08. Led the National League in saves with 42 in 2012. Pretty good for a former catcher from Iona.
Unofficially, looking up Baseball Reference's play index, as Flowers swings and misses, that the 18 strikeouts by Cubs batters today since 1914 would tie the team record 4 times previously. Last time on May 2nd of this year against Milwaukee. Is that the Mike Fiers game? Fiers 6 innings, 12 strikeouts. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Jake Arrieta. Call strike 3. We will go to the 9th. Let's see if the Cubs can rally here. Down 3-0. An off day tomorrow, and then back home to play the Tigers for 2. The Braves come in for a 4 makeup game on the 24th versus Cleveland, and then we head to San Francisco and Los Angeles. Final West Coast trip of the regular season, that is.
David Robertson, the closer, on for the 44th time. 5 wins, 3 losses, a 2.74 ERA. He has 23 saves, and he's failed to convert on 6 occasions, including 2 of his last 5 save opportunities. That's 193 against him. been awfully tough on lefties. He has a real good cut fastball. He'll work it on their hands. Swing and miss curveball. Doesn't have the velocity that we've seen from Sale and Jones. He's got a good fastball, but not quite the velocity that those guys feature.
Not that the Cubs batters are thinking about this, but in the modern era, they have struck out the club record tying 18 times here in this one. They've got a good part of the order coming up. If they do rally here, Bryant, Rizzo, and Soler.
Yeah, the challenge here is just keep the line moving. Get on base.
Swing and a miss, strike one. High fly ball the other way. Garcia went back, now comes in and makes a catch. One out.
They just got under it a little bit. I would not be surprised if John Maley, talking to his hitter, said, hey, think Melanson when you go up there. This guy's game similar to Mark Melanson, the closer for the Pirates. Is a strike. Speaking of the Pirates, they have an 8-1 lead over the Mets now. They're in the 8th. Barring a reversal either here or there, helps to drop a game to the Pirates. The Pirates, like the Cubs, with a win today, will have swept the season series with the Mets.
How about that? The 2-1 pitch. 2-2. Here comes a 2-2. A little bit outside and low. Robertson on a 4-year, $46 million contract through 2018. Whole career prior to this season spent with the Yankees. 2 bounces to Sanchez.
Cubs' best chance came in the 6th inning. Fowler singled for the first hit of the game, only hit of the game for the Cubs. And Orfield walked. Rizzo was hit by a pitch, and the base was loaded with 2 outs. And this fella right here, Jorge Soler, put up a pretty good fight. He got caught looking at a backdoor breaking ball for strike 3.
Fly to right and deep. Garcia's at the wall. It's gone. A home run for Soler, and they've broken the shutout. The Cubs' second hit of the day, and it leaves the yard. 3-1.
Perhaps a promise of things to come from Jorge Soler. He is so strong, but he doesn't lift the ball that much. He's a line drive hitter. And the next step for him is to learn how to get that ball airborne a little bit more. The Ford home run replay. Jorge going deep for the 6th time this year.
4 runs in this ball game, all coming on solo homers. 3 for the White Sox and the Soler blast. So Russell's job is to get on somehow, some way, and bring the tying run to the plate. And it would be Starlin Castro who's on deck. 0-1 on Addison. 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. And 6th in the lineup. Swing and a miss, 0-2.
Even from Sale, Russell has seen a lot of spin today. Breaking stuff.
From the stretch with nobody on. The 1-2 from Robertson. Pulled. Fair diving stop. Saladino. The throw to first. In time. No way. Joe already asking for a challenge.
Absolutely.
Sure looked like he was safe.
Yeah, I think Fagan got caught up in the moment. There was a little hesitation by Saladino. He made a spectacular play, but didn't get it out of his glove cleanly. It cost him just a little bit, and I believe Russell beat that.
It's an easy challenge on the final out of the ball game for Joe Madden. And it is the Foresight Technology Replay Review. Will this game continue? Yes.
Absolutely.
No doubt. So that'll be an infield hit for Russell. This should be a very short look in New York. And he is
staying alive. We think Saladino really flashed the leather in this series, but that little time it took for him to regrip and go cost him. When you have a magical year, you have magical moments. The Cubs have already had a few of those this year. Could you imagine if Castro were to get into one here? Tie this ball game?
Two-out homer, followed by an infield single.
The guy on deck had a walk-off the other day.
Montero on deck, Castro. The batter. Strike one.
Not holding Russell. He's getting instructions from Brandon Hyde.
Russell will take second. Why not? Will not be given a stolen base, but get rid of that force out at second.
Yeah, especially with Starlin hits a lot of those little rollover ground balls to the left side of the infield, and sometimes in a situation like that, the best option, and sometimes the only option, is the force at second. If you can take that away, why not do it?
One pitch, chopped to second. Sanchez has it, and the White Sox salvage the finale. And it's a 3-3 Crosstown Cup split here in 2015. We mentioned kind of same deal at Wrigley Field. Sox won the first two. Cubs won game 3 behind Jake Arrieta. And today was the Chris Sale show.
Yeah, I think Chris Sale, just like I said at the outset, the way he pitched that first inning, it was almost as if he was telling his teammates, jump on, boys. I got this today. We've been struggling this weekend. And, boy, he was really impressive. Struck out the side in the first, did it again in the fourth, again in the seventh to finish his outing, ended up with 15 strikeouts.
So the Sox, who won the season series last year, get to technically keep the cup since it was a split this season. We're back on CSN for Cubs baseball this Thursday at 7 o'clock from Wrigley Field. The Cubs host the Atlanta Braves. Now for JD and our entire crew here at U.S. Cellular Field, Len Casper inviting you to stay tuned. Blue Cross Blue Shield Cubs postgame live comes up next. Final